For what purpose does the gentleman from New York rise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk that I'm offering with my colleagues Sam Farr, Dana Rohrabacher, and Ron Paul. I ask unanimous consent that the amendment be considered as read.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 1, printed to the congressional record, offered by Mr. Hinchey of New York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is a simple limitation that would prevent the Justice Department from using any of the funds appropriated to it by this bill to interfere with the implementation of state laws that allow for the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes under the supervision of a licensed physician.
This is embarrassing from a legal standpoint and embarrassing from a body that should be upholding the laws of the United States, that should be fighting the terrorism on our streets where people are dying, and here we are trying to give them cover for this pro-drug movement by acting like it's medicine. It is not medicine. If you believe in the medicine, get it out of the marijuana and into the people who need it. Don't hide behind marijuana and make it more available so more kids can die in my district and in your districts as well. I yield back.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from New York.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remark.
Without objection, so ordered.
As a co-sponsor of the amendment, I rise in support of this amendment and appreciate the fact that the gentleman from New York has brought it to the floor. I would suggest that the previous speaker has forgotten some of the law, and to me that would be the constitutional law of the 9th and 10th Amendment. So changing the law is one thing, but remembering the Constitution is another. And this has a lot to do with state law, but more importantly, as a physician, I see this bill as something dealing with compassion. As a physician, I have seen those who have died with cancer and getting chemotherapy and with AIDS and having nothing help them. There's the case in California of Peter McDaniels, who was diagnosed with cancer and AIDS. California changed the law and permitted him to use marijuana if it was self-grown, and he was using it. And yet, although he was dying, the federal court came in and arrested, the federal officials came in and arrested him, and he was taken to court. And the terrible irony of this was, here was a man that was dying, and the physicians were not giving him any help. And when he was tried, it was not allowed to be said that he was obeying the state law. That's how far the 9th and 10th Amendment has been undermined, that there has been so much usurpation of states' rights and states' ability to manage these affairs. And that's why the founders set the system up this way, in order that if there is a mistake, it's not monolithic. And believe me, the federal government has made a mistake, not only here with marijuana, with all the drug laws. Let me tell you, there are more people who die from the use of legal drugs than illegal drugs. And just think of that. More people die from the use of legal drugs. And also, there are more deaths from the drug war than there are from deaths from using the illegal drugs. So it has gotten out of control. But the whole idea that a person who is dying, a physician can't even prescribe something that might help them. The terrible irony of Peter McDaniels was that he died because of vomiting, something that could have and had only been curtailed by the use of marijuana. No other medication had helped. And we, a federal government, go in there and deny this and defy the state law. The state law of California. Yes, I would grant you, there's danger in all medications. There's some danger in marijuana, but I don't know of any deaths that is purely marijuana related. If you want to talk about a deadly medication or a deadly drug that kills literally tens of thousands in this country, it's alcohol. And how many people want to go back to prohibition? I mean, nobody's proposing that. And yet that is the deadly drug. The whole notion that we would suggest that the states can use...
Recognized for one additional minute.
The whole idea that we can deny this right to the states to allow a little bit of compassion for a patient that is dying. I would say this is a compassionate vote. If you care about people being sick, you have to vote for this amendment. This will do nothing to increase the use of bad drugs. The bad drugs are there, and as a physician and a parent and a grandparent, I preach against it all the time. But you know, the unwise use of drugs is a medical problem, just like alcoholism is a medical problem. But we've turned this into a monster to the point where we won't even allow a person dying from cancer and AIDS to get a little bit of relief. I strongly urge a support and a positive vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from Virginia. The gentleman used back his time. All time has expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from New York. As many as are in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it.
Mr. Chairman, on that I ask a roll call vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from New York will be postponed.